Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Right Media Group Chronicles. Today, my guest is Jade Pruett, founder of Hello SEO. She went from working at CNN and Business Insider to building an SEO agency that serves small businesses. Today, we will be talking about why SEO isn't dead. It's actually never been better, and how AI is changing the game for founders and the real system challenges she's facing while scaling a team. Jade, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's start off from the beginning. You worked at CNN and Business Insider. What exactly happened that put you in a moment that you had to leave or move on to founding your agency?
My gosh. So I worked on the affiliate side for both of those publications. So
Okay.
we were like a third-party startup that was actually based out of Germany that was running the coupon page
Mhm.
for CNN and Business Insider, which is how at the time they were making about 68% of their revenue. So kind of ad spend is kind of legacy at this point. And so this was like the new way that they were making money for, to fund these massive publications, which is pretty cool. SEO is doing a lot for them even still. It was such a great job. I had worked at an agency before, and then that felt like my first kind of like big girl job in SEO. It was like a wonderful place to work. It was one of those positions where the more you put into it, the more you got out. They would let me sit in on other teams and like learn as many different tools as possible. Like Tableau had nothing to do with my job, but I would sit in on the training just to like understand how to measure and like track analytics better. And it was great. And during that time, I was there when the pandemic hit. And so suddenly I had about 4 extra hours in the day that I wasn't commuting in Atlanta and started experimenting with different types of businesses I could run. I did a lot of like drop shipping businesses, just kind of
Mhm.
different like fun things
Oh,
along the
fun.
way.
Yeah.
And then around the end of the year, someone reached out to me for help. They reached out to me on LinkedIn. It was a local attorney who was just getting started. And it hadn't occurred to me that I could do SEO outside of like the strict SOPs of my career or my job. And so it was really interesting to see that I could actually serve this client really well with the knowledge that I had. And I was very into getting a Venmo from him every month too. I was like, oh, I can
Mm.
I can scale this. And so that started my journey to starting my own business. But it was a long time coming. I had to match my income to be able to quit, and I ended up getting an even better job in the meantime. So my salary doubled, and then I had to match my doubled
Wow.
salary.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun, but I did not know I wanted to be an entrepreneur until I was one, and now I would never look back.
Yeah, I'm wondering because you said you were looking at drop shipping and there were these other things you were exploring. I'm wondering if there's anything broken you noticed about the corporate industry and sort of working there that you had to look elsewhere for that revenue stream.
Yes, it was still like that job was incredible, but it was still an entry level position. So like my salary wasn't incredible. I was also in my mid 20s. And so it was, fine for that phase of life. But especially as my husband and I were looking towards the future, one of the biggest challenges, honestly, was the commute and having to be at work so long every day and be present in an office. As we started talking about having kids, it was like, how am I going to? I never even see my husband. How would I ever have kids and like see them and be a part of their lives, commuting back and forth 2 hours each way every single day? And then for me, I'm just the type of person who always feels like I need to be advancing. And in a corporate setting, once you get to a certain point, basically to get a promotion, someone else has to leave and then they have to choose you for that position. And that was always in the back of my head. It's like there's really not an easy way other than being way more patient than I am to progress. And especially I think like the high growth startups that I often found myself a part of. Um, as an entrepreneur, the harder you work, the more money you make.
Hmm. Yeah.
You're truly in control of these things, and that was really exciting to me. I know that there's, tons of different types of personalities out there and people love different things. I clearly cared less about stability and wanted to work
But you
really,
know,
really hard.
but you know what's interesting? Like, if you don't risk in your mid 20s, when will you? When you have kids? Or when you
Right.
get a mortgage and you can't afford to pay the rent? It's sort of interesting, your story, because I can relate very much so because I'm in my mid 20s. I'm sort of thinking about settling down. What is my future looking like if I can't spend time with my kids, if I'm, stuck in the workplace? I think in UK, it's like a year they pay for your maternity and then you got to get back out there and you stick
That's
your
pretty
kid.
cool. Yeah, we have nothing here.
Wow, okay. Well, something's better than nothing, I guess.
Right.
But it's like, what happens after that year? Like, you stick your kid into a
Yeah.
nursery and you don't see them. Do they even know their parents? Can they build a relationship with them? So it's sort of cool that you started it with the motivation of a future. And look where you are now, right? My next question to you is, you found out you were pregnant whilst you were hitting your first revenue goal. So you already sort of had that
Yeah.
jump start, and then you found out you were pregnant. Did you panic or did you double down?
Oh my gosh. No, he was completely planned. I was
Yeah.
dying to
Okay.
get pregnant at the time.
Really?
I had quit my job. I quit my job in October of 2022. We were like ready to have a family then, but we had to make the clear choice of, do we want to have a baby and you pull back with Hello SEO and you just keep your full-time job and potentially get a little bit of maternity leave. I think I would have gotten like 6 weeks. And
Oh,
I don't know if it would have been paid. The US is wild. We need to work on that.
wow.
So that was like one option. And then the other is like take baby off the table for at least a year and like really focus in on the business. And that's what we chose. And I'm really thankful we did, because the tech recession hit right after that. I would have lost my job at least 3 times. I would have been laid off. The rest of my team was laid off and the tool we were building was was sunsetted. So thankfully we made the right choice there. So in in October of 2023, we found out we were expecting. And the business was relatively stable. Like it was, supporting our family, but it was fully on me. And of course, the moment you are pregnant, your entire worldview changes of, okay, I have to,
Mhm.
first of all, take care of myself in a way that I haven't been previously. Like I'm going to need a lot more rest and I need to stop, drinking 5 coffees a day to function. You or I'll speak for myself, I started caring about security so much more. Whenever I would lose a client, I would be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be able to feed my baby." And that was not the actual scenario, but it felt that way. So it definitely changed everything.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned this. So the maternity leave is like 6 weeks in America. That's wild.
There is no, government mandated maternity leave in the US at all. There's only 4 countries left in the world that don't have any sort of mandated maternity leave, and it's the US, Papua New Guinea, and then 2 other countries that are so small I had never heard of them before.
American Revolution, right? But you can't even look after the mothers or the families that are bringing more people to this civilization to keep the tax-paying
Yeah.
dollar going. And that's crazy. I didn't actually hear that story before. I can understand why there's so many mothers that have started agencies, because I've spoken to maybe like 7 now so far.
Mhm. That's wild. Yeah, it's definitely true. You can oddly get more flexibility working for yourself, especially as a mom.
And I wonder, with your team structure, is remote working something that you support based off of the situation that you went through as a mother, hoping for that remote working?
Definitely. Yeah, and one of my employees now has young twins.
Mm.
And it's not bothering me at all if she needs to take a Friday off because
Yeah.
one of her kids is sick or, something's going on. And we're, the same way over here. My kid loves to get ear infections. And so it's like there's typically a day every week that we have to go deal
Wow.
with that.
Yeah,
But, things
but
happen
it's
and
it's good you have that
moms are incredibly
flexibility.
resilient.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
When you found out you were pregnant, did you already have to have a team in place to manage most of the workload?
No, not at all. I had one contractor at the time and I had no real systems in place. And so I had about 8 months to get the
Yeah.
systems in order and figure out how I was going to run the agency without literally being involved in every single thing. And of course at the time I'm telling myself the story of, oh, these my clients need me. Like
Yeah.
they need to be talking only to me and all these things. And that ended up not being true at all. And so that was actually a really good experience that I don't think I would have done otherwise, unless I absolutely had to, was to get the team in place, get systems in place, and all that good
Yeah.
stuff.
Can you tell me more details exactly on what steps you took? Because there's so many agency owners out there that are feeling the same way you did. Like, oh, I'm the front facing of the business. Nobody else is going to want to deal with my team. They want to deal with me. And how do you
Yeah.
offload that to the team in this crucial time that you were going through?
Yeah. And everyone does it differently. When I have another kid one of these days, hopefully I'll be able to take even more of a step back because I gave birth on a Wednesday and then was back to answering emails on Monday, which was nuts. I would not recommend that
Yeah.
to anyone, but also like it's your choice, like you can do whatever you want. But I had different facets of the business. Like there was a lot of copywriting involved and blog writing. And I just would connect my clients directly to the person who was creating their blogs and they could handle that situation without me getting involved at all. And same with digital PR. We had a backlink specialist on the team who could communicate just as easily as I could with the clients. So the main thing was introducing them very early. So like when we're onboarding a client, they're meeting everyone who is on the team. They're getting to know them. So it's not like they're getting emails from random people and being like, oh, well, who is this? Like, where's Jade? And then I still do all of the reports. At the time, I was meeting with every client either weekly or monthly, or I was meeting with them too much to go over metrics and make sure that they were happy. It turns out that they didn't need that at all. And to this day, we do video reports for all of the clients. I just get on Loom and explain all their metrics to them, and everyone's super happy with that. And then if they have follow-up questions, we can hop on a call or do whatever we need to
Yeah.
do. I thought about outsourcing that part, and then I ended up just doing it myself. And that was pretty easy. I could just set aside an hour or two, once a month, even with a newborn, just make sure he's not crying in the
Yeah,
background
of course.
and get that done. But I turned off my Calendly for the summer.
Mm.
He was born in June. I think I started taking calls again in like August, August or
Oh,
September.
wow.
That was nice to just not have to be kind of at the beck and call of my calendar. But other than that, you can answer emails and hold a baby at the same
Yeah,
time if that's what
well,
you choose
yeah.
to do.
Clearly you did it. So well done to you. Like you said, moms are very resilient.
Yeah, yeah. They'll do what they have to do.
You specialize in SEO and particularly for small businesses. So you went the opposite direction of what most agencies go after. They go after enterprise clients, right? Because that's where the money
Right.
is. So why is small businesses actually better in your scenario and in your case?
So that's a great question. All of the SEO I had done in full time employment was for massive companies. So it was kind of fun to turn around and use those tactics for very small businesses and just watch them blow up. But really, I focused on small businesses because that's who I was networking with and like that's who I could sell to easily. I had not figured out at the time how to even approach like a large business. And so I was happy to work with small businesses. I still am. I still love the niche. I try to take on a handful of larger clients every year for the fun of it, mostly to kind of like work on a larger scale. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to really make a difference in a small business. Like if you can just bring in like a small amount of leads every month, they're thrilled.
Yeah, no, I sort of know what you mean because they're small, so the potential for growth is much bigger than for enterprise clients. You have a bigger budget. There's a lot more to manage and worry about as well as, and those little few leads are going to mean more to the smaller business than it will to the enterprise. They'll want like hundreds, thousands,
Totally.
and they still might not be happy in the end.
Right, right, exactly.
Would you say for smaller businesses, though, the margins are much tighter?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that is a challenge we bump up against all the time. We're dealing with small budgets, which makes us have to be scrappy, which is, again, pretty fun.
Mm.
I enjoy being really involved in people's businesses like that. But I do often run into, like, obviously, we could do so much more. If we could, double the budget, this would work a lot faster. And I hate disappointing people. And so that comes up a lot where I have to keep myself in check when it comes to scope and hold my own boundaries. Because sometimes it's like, if we could just create, 70 landing pages, we could really blow this up. And it's like, you have to keep it in check.
Of course, yeah, because unfortunately you don't have the budget to manage that or to even focus on that, even though you're really, really wanting me to focus on still making, some profit in your agency as well.
Right, exactly.
You work with therapists, e-commerce, and service-based businesses. I'm wondering whether
Mhm.
you're sort of like a hyper generalist, or is there actually a thread connecting all these small businesses?
That is a great question. I think I have been operating as a hyper generalist for too long. And I was just having a conversation with my operations person on Tuesday about niching. We've been having the conversation for about a year. And it's like, I know I need a niche, but I don't want to. I'm involved in so many communities for woman owned businesses, especially. And it's like, I just want to be able to help anyone who wants help. And like, I want to be able to like engage in these groups as much as I can and like be as beneficial as possible. But about 25% of my clientele is therapists, and I love working with them. So we are in talks right now about pivoting to primarily focusing on therapists and, you know, anyone else who needs a little bit of help can we can see what we can do.
Yeah, exactly. Because you still have that experience that you did for other businesses and like a large segment of different industries. But
Mhm.
being niche down does have its own power to it, like the messaging that you reach out to the clients and how you even talk to, let's say, the content you put out there. When you're specifically talking to that niche, you're just bound to get more return on investment, and that's one way to stand out, isn't it? Within an industry and become really a specialist rather than a generalist.
Right. And the other side is we're currently offering our retainer at 850,
Mm.
and then asking for like, at least 6 months of runway on that. And we have so many different clients in different verticals that we're having to become more bespoke and then potentially needing to charge more, which I don't want to do
Yeah.
particularly, because then I'm kind of like outpricing myself from the people I want to work with. And so if we can just focus on therapists and create a 6 month process that just blows therapists up
Yeah.
in a positive way,
Yeah.
we can keep our margins where they're at and do really good work.
Yeah. You mentioned a bit of a therapist conflict last time we spoke, specifically coming to SEO. So ranking competing salons in the same niche. So how
Mhm.
often would you say it's killing deals? Do you focus on like a close proximity so you can't work with somebody within a certain radius? Or how does it work with specifically your agency?
So we haven't put anything in place yet. It's been kind of, just like taking it case by case.
Mhm.
Ironically, I've never been to Chicago, but I have so many therapist clients in the Chicago area because they keep referring me to each other. And I had a lead come in and I was like, I'm doing trauma therapy SEO for the person who is in the other side of your office.
Yeah.
Like, are you sure you're okay
Oh,
with me doing
wow.
this for you too? And they're like, yeah, like we refer to each other all the time. It's totally fine. If it was not fine, we would, not take on that new client. And I think, as we drill down into a niche, it's going to have to be like, oh, we already have a therapist of this type in this area. Like we can't, it would be a conflict of interest to have two kind of competing against each other unless they're cool with it.
Yeah, so you're sort of still figuring out how to navigate this once you figure out the niching part. What steps have you already
Right.
taken, and what steps do you still have to take in order to fully immerse yourself in this niche?
Great question. We actually had this conversation on Monday, my operations person. It is now Wednesday. So, tons of time has passed. But we created a list that was a little bit reverse than what I thought it would be. I thought I would need to go change all of my branding, change my own SEO to SEO for therapists, like really put it out there, put it on my LinkedIn. And he recommended just start by telling people. I'd love to do coffee chats. That's like how I find most of my clients is just building my network. It's like, just start mentioning that you want to work with therapists in these coffee chats and see who they start connecting you with. So we're starting really slowly. I'm also going to interview all of my clients who are therapists and see how I can serve them better. Like what's missing? What can we do better? Like we don't optimize Psychology Today profiles yet, but like that's 100% coming down the pipeline because that's so unique and important to them. So we're kind of starting quietly. And then as we continue on, I think the next step after that will be to turn some of these clients into case studies, kind of start slowly promoting it on social media and LinkedIn. And then the last thing we'll do is like rebrand the website and put SEO for therapists everywhere.
That reminds me of sort of realizing the market and speaking to that niche before you ever create a product, might you say, rather than creating a product and then hoping for the best that it's going to attract your niche. I love the approach there you're taking.
Yeah, yeah, and it is less scary that way. I've
Yeah.
been very terrified to niche for too long.
For sure. I think it's gonna go for the best, but, there is that sort of grace period, isn't it, where you're testing around whether this is the right niche, but because you already have clients in there, you know you can deliver results for them.
Right, right. And last year, I was so convinced that I was gonna start working with plastic surgeons, like, that
Oh,
was, like, the niche, and then I realized I would have to basically rebuild my entire network to start catering towards plastic
yeah.
surgeons, which was one of many issues with that particular niche. And with therapists, it's like, I already have the referral network, I already know that I can get good results for them. It's just, like, a much smoother process.
Yeah. Talking a bit about a topic that's not as known to me personally. Previously, when we chatted, you mentioned SEM rush, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce this. Would you mind to clarify what that means? Because you mentioned about Google crawl limits now, and I'm wondering
Yeah.
how do you collect data for your clients now that these platforms are not performing as well as they used to?
My gosh. Yeah. So to give more context, SEMrush and Ahrefs are two of like the big keyword research tools and SEO tools in general in the industry. And there's still like so much good that you can get out of these tools. But one thing that's become challenging is just because the way that Google scrapes pages has changed. Everyone has a lot of theories. I'm not sure if it's 100% because of AI or not, but we just have less keyword data now than we used to. I used to be able to pull up any web page and see everything that they were ranking for, and those keywords have just dropped off quite a bit because now we're only seeing what they're ranking for on the first page. And so that kind of just makes keyword research a bit more challenging. You have to get a bit more creative. But now we're kind of taking a multifaceted approach. My favorite thing to do is use the client's Google Search Console, if they've had one set up for a while, to see what they're already ranking for on top of, what we're seeing in Ahrefs, what keywords that they could potentially be going for. There's also really cool new tools hitting the market constantly that are using different levels of AI and different things like that to make keyword research way easier. So we're kind of in like an interesting period of transition when it comes to what SEO tools we're using. Also, like kind of going back to being scrappy, it seems like it's the small tools that have small teams that are really able to pivot on a dime, and they're not like $100 million SaaS products, are able to adapt to kind of like what's changing with AI and different things quicker. And so they're becoming more and more valuable over time.
What tools do you currently use to make yourself more efficient coming to AI and automation? Because it seems like from your perspective, if I got it right, is you have to embrace the AI and automation, otherwise you sort of get left behind.
Yeah, yeah. I am currently obsessed with a tool called MetaMonster. It was the one I was thinking of, when it comes to adding a little extra layer of AI when you're doing your keyword research. It just pulls in keywords that you might have not considered before, and you also can connect your Google Search Console to it, so you're getting, like, solid data and then also kind of some other ways of pulling keywords in at the same time. I also love ClearScope. I'm, like, just nerding out about ClearScope right now for
What does
content
it do
especially.
for content?
Yeah, yeah. So it's you can like pop in any page of a client's website and then put in the keywords you want to rank for, and it'll kind of help you massage the content to kind of be more competitive. Like it does a competitive analysis and helps you kind of boost the content up that way. But
Yeah,
so
that's
fun.
pretty cool. What about any workflows, anything like that, or do you feel like you rather be more hands-on?
So I have a systems strategist who helped us a lot with automations and workflows. Her name is Devin Lee. I
Yeah,
highly recommend her. She's the best.
yeah,
But she set us up with so many things I didn't even know were possible, primarily when it comes to just like a seamless onboarding process for clients. Like, speaking of like the things that they don't need me to personally be doing, like they don't need me to be personally sending them their contract every single
yeah.
time. So we have like a very nice onboarding process that makes sure that they have everything they need, we have everything we need, and we're ready to work. And when someone onboards, it automatically puts every task we need to do for them in Asana and assigns it to the right person. And then there's SOPs in Asana. If a new employee doesn't know exactly how we do a certain thing, everything is just ready for them, all the way down to email templates. So if there's like a particular email you need to be sending, it's already written and you just have to hit send after you put the report in or whatever it is. It saves a lot of time, but it also just like takes a lot of the guesswork out of onboarding a new client and,
Yeah.
and really just getting started.
No, for sure. It seems like you're already in that. phase that you want to monetize and sort of automate whatever you're doing now, which is great because I feel like sometimes you either focus on one area, which is growing your revenue streams or maintaining it, becoming more efficient. So, I mean, when it comes to automations, the controversial thinking I get is that they're extortionate amounts of money. In your case, do you feel like it was expensive to implement these workflows?
So she's about 1,800 US a month for I think 6 months. And before we even were done, the automation she had put in place had more than doubled my revenue. I was able to onboard clients and like get the sales process going so much faster. So like the ROI was very clear. That felt like a lot of money to me at the time, but it was like so worth it. And now our business or my business is in like a different world because of that work that I almost feel like I need to hire her again so we can like do the whole process over.
Yeah. Oh.
But I was really afraid of automating because it felt impersonal to
Mm.
me. I was like, again, like my clients need me, but I was just worried that it was going to, like, I like offering a bespoke service. I like feeling like I'm very involved in people's businesses, but it actually made that more possible because I'm not having to worry about all these tiny details. I can actually just be helpful in the ways that I need to be helpful. And then my team can do a lot of the work on the back end. One of the big challenges at the moment is the team is growing. And so I'm less involved in like the tiny little tasks that are being completed. And so figuring out a really great way to make sure that I am relaying to the client exactly what's happening every single month is like the new challenge because it's not just all in my head anymore.
No, I see. No, that's great. You sort of taken it on the chin and implemented the workflows because, like you said, there's many people out there, many businesses out there that are scared to sort of lose that personal touch. Which, in your
Mhm.
case, you're saying that wasn't even the situation.
No, and like productizing your service doesn't mean that it's not as helpful to the client. Like it actually is going to be more helpful because you're going to make sure that every single thing gets done when it needs to get done, as opposed to just kind of doing whatever every month, which is
And
what I
you're
was doing.
and you're no longer the bottleneck because you said the team becomes more efficient. You become more efficient. You can focus on tasks that actually need your hands on, pretty much.
Right, exactly. And also my team is too efficient at the moment. I met with a client earlier today who just is like a month and a half in with us and I looked at her Asana board and they've completed all of their tasks for the next 3 months for her already and I was like, "Wait, hold on. We've done too much." But no one minds. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, great. And talking about that lead generation effort for your agency, we were briefly talking about cold calling, and you said some interns tried it before and it wasn't as effective. But then you also said, yeah, your husband does cold calling for his work and he's doing really well. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, is that something you're going to try for your agency? What other efforts have you tried? What's worked? What doesn't work?
So what really works, and it's tragic because it has recently broken,
Wow.
is I had an SEO report card on my website that would just generate some results or would generate some like instant insights into whoever filled it out's business's SEO. That was a tough sentence. But the real value was if they would submit one, I would then make them a video explaining everything to them because people, if you're not in SEO every single day, you have no idea what all these things mean. And then I would just encourage them to book a call or book a power hour, whatever was most appropriate at the end. And that converted just so well. And then from the power hour, I can convert them to a full client and it's like, we're great. We're off to the races. So getting my report card back online is it's a really big task at the moment. But yeah, I had some interns try to do some outreach for me and we really didn't see anything come of it. And they were trying to get people into the report card. So I was like, I know if we can get them in, like we're like the funnel has begun. But my husband has been getting amazing results from cold calling in a way that I just did not know was even possible. So it is inspiring. I think once we have fully niched to therapists, I will try some cold emailing and see what
Hmm.
happens.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that before.
Mm.
So we will see, but I think especially if we're very, very niched and we're reaching out to the right people with the right case studies, something might happen, but
Yeah.
it's on the list to try out.
Yeah, of course. It's good that you're open minded and seeing what's going to be the next trend because at the end of the day, you need data to know what you can improve on next time and how can you become more efficient, right?
Right, exactly.
You mentioned that currently you do a little bit of LinkedIn referrals are a big part,
Mhm.
but sort of the one bottleneck that I see with other agency owners is, isn't it risky relying on those referrals and not focusing on that outbound?
It definitely is. If you're going to rely on referrals, you need to be constantly refueling the referrals because you'll notice like you'll have someone who is just like your like referral champion for maybe like a quarter and then you'll never get a referral from them again. And it's not like anything bad has happened in that relationship. It's just maybe you're not top of mind or, whatever's going on. So I love to keep the referral network as full as possible. I also just love chatting with people and chatting with other business owners. So that's like so easy. But it is really important to have some other marketing channels that you know are going to work kind of in your back pocket.
Going back to that reporting card that you said it worked really well, but now it no longer does. I'm wondering why.
So it was through Upcity. I don't know if that's in the UK. It's like Clutch if you have that one. It's like a one of those websites where their whole thing is like you can kind of rent out their own SEO. So if you Google like best SEO agencies in Atlanta, like they'll be ranking number one and then they'll kind of choose who's ranking within their own system. And they just had this report card tool that was like a free part of the membership. And so I popped it on my website 5 years ago. And sadly, on January 1st, they just ceased to exist. Like the
Oh my
company, I think,
God,
was
no
bought
way.
out. And so I got to find out, at the beginning of the year that my report card had gone offline and I was like,
Oh,
"Oh,"
that's a bummer.
but
Is there
yeah.
another way of a reporting card that you can do sort of internalize it a little bit?
I have some developers building me my own report
What?
card at this point. So once hopefully we can get that together soon.
Yeah, I know.
Everything takes longer than you think it's going to.
Especially when it comes to development, right? No, but
Right.
that's great to hear all of that, Jade. If people wanted to connect with you to find out more information about what you're doing, check out your website maybe. Maybe there'll be a new reporting card out there
Right.
soon. Where should they look?
I would say check out my website, but I'm mostly active on LinkedIn
Okay.
as Jade Pruett, the
Yeah.
one from Hello SEO.
That's great. Jade, thank you so much for taking half an hour of your time to let me pick your brain about your agency, what's currently working in agency space, and particularly in your situation. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, this was super fun. Thank you.
Thank you. And for anyone listening, if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe and let me know your favorite takeaway from Jade down below in the comments.